Good morning and welcome to 59 Minutes. My name is Levi Kones. We are here with presidential aspirant Muthiora Kariara. He famously is the gentleman who was seen on TV burning his voter's card, as well as, of course, running for president. Muthiora, good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to have you here.
It's always a pleasure to be on this platform.
Yeah. How are you feeling? You know, the webs are all talking about you. And you are trending for this act.
Jumbutuzi wafumbutula alitukembeketa shombo koka.
What is that?
Unakembeketa?
Is that you dosheng ya mtani?
Well, that's the people you want to leave behind when you tell a young patriot like me that they can't run for president.
Yeah. So I have a video of you doing that, but I want to ask that question and I want us to work backwards. Let's start from that moment. What led to that moment?
According to the commission, I was not supposed to be part of those that will be running for president in 2022. So that marked the end of my journey in this.
Yeah.
And having had an experience with the electoral process in Kenya, I think I have arrived at a point where it's no longer attainable for me to keep pursuing the quest to serve the people through the electoral process until it is reformed. So that symbolic moment that you're referring to marked my exit in elective politics.
Yeah, I don't know whether we can get it on air for those that didn't see it. But you know, I have what you call here your reporter's card.
Yes.
And you say it's, it says here that, you know, the application for registration has been rejected due to 1, insufficient supporters, 2, insufficient identification documents to support the list of supporters, running mate electoral code of conduct not provided. In basic language, what are they saying?
Well, what they're saying is I did not meet the conditions required for me to be cleared to run for president. You just mentioned that I did not provide sufficient list of supporters, which is not true because on the 25th of May, I delivered a bundle of documents which comprised of ID copies and signed forms that we had taken to the people, and registered voters had endorsed my candidacy.
It's supposed to be 2,000 per county.
Per county for at least 24 counties. That is a majority of the counties.
And you were able to do that?
Yes, we got over 50,000 signatures and accompanying ID copies.
Yeah.
That we did.
How is the process of getting that like?
Harrowing, arduous, difficult, almost impossible for people who are not endowed with easy money. And by easy money, I mean money that you didn't work for, which you can easily give out. Because in Kenya, we have commercialized politics. At the moment, even if you're not an aspirant, you're just a well-dressed person in a suit walking around. If you look at someone, they look back at you like, are you going to pay me for looking at me like that? So you can imagine if you're asking for an ID from someone, they expect you to induce them to do that. You have to make them do it. So it costs money, it costs sweat, sometimes tears, and for me, even blood, because I went all out trying to do this right, not to use any shortcut. It's a process I wouldn't wish even on my worst enemy.
So your bone of contention, your point of departure from the IBC is where?
The way they treated candidates. It appears as if we have a different set of rules. There are those they treat with kid gloves, and then there are those they clamp on with an iron fist. For instance, in the very last day, I was only allowed to bring 8 of my supporters to Bomas. when in fact the previous day we saw the former Prime Minister fill up the place with thousands of people. So that goes to show.
There's a disparity there, yes.
Yes. So leave that aside. Even from the very beginning when they introduced us as aspirants to the Kenyan people, their idea was to rubbish our candidacy and participation in this process. That's the very time that they brandished us as jokers. So this contemptuous accord of respect to people who are supposed to be equal with those that they accord so much respect is one thing I'm not comfortable with.
Yeah. There's something here they say about your running mate, and there was a story going around that your running mate was your spouse. Was that true?
Well, people have been threatened by my being in the race. There are those that see what a worthy contender I am. Levis, you know that I wasn't doing this for the first time. And over the last 5 years, I have been gaining political capital. I was in this race because I believed I was offering an alternative. And there are millions of Kenyans out there yearning for alternative leadership. So there are those that thought I threatened their chances in this election. And from the very beginning, they've been looking to tarnish the good image that people have.
So that was a story.
That is where we say money was poured to finish me politically. Because Miriam Mutua is not new to Kenyans. In fact, she was the only female running mate in 2017. She ran with Professor Michael Wainaina, if you remember.
I remember him, yes, well.
We were in that race together. Miriam is a respectable
And you were
member of
Jeff
society.
Kaluyu at that moment.
Yes.
Yes.
And besides us being in the struggle to liberate this nation, there is no other relationship that has ever occurred between us. But because we are used to objectifying women, to confining them in a space that is the kitchen, where they are not allowed to cross to the decision table, so someone thought they could trash our candidacy by bringing up such malignments.
I hear you. But here, okay, says here that running mate electoral code of conduct not provided. What are they saying, and was this provided?
Well, the commission was in a hurry to dismiss our candidature. Had they taken a bit of time, that would never have appeared, because the electoral code of conduct is a form that IEBC itself gives to the candidates. You fill it up and then you give it back. What had not happened was...
I see a picture of you running there. What was happening there, by the way?
Well, that is Muthiora literally running for president, because Chebukati had just given me 20 minutes to go fetch the additional documents for 5 counties that they said they had rejected, which we had with us. I had just 20 minutes. When others had a week, others had 2 days, Chebukati told me at 10 minutes past 3 that if I wasn't back by 3:30, he was going to reject our application, which he eventually did. But as you can see, I did my best.
Yeah,
it was
another
I
hoop
could
to jump.
Yes.
Do you feel that, you know...
And I hope you see the contempt, that for others, they would have more time. But for me, he looks at his watch and tells me, in 20 minutes, if you're not back here, I'm going to trash your bid. The double standards, that's the injustice we must cure in this process.
I hear what you're saying, but you know, there are other candidates that were able to jump through these hoops. I mean, we have, you know, the alternative. We've got Mwaura.
Yes.
We've got Dr.
Professor
Wajakoya.
George Luchiri Wajakoya.
Wajakoya, yes.
My mentor, by the way.
Yeah?
Yes. He's the only revolutionary left in this race.
In this race. Well, some would say some things about his revolutions, but... and I'd like to have him here one day if he's listening. The two of them
Yes.
managed to get through the defense requirements that were on the table.
Yes.
The question is,
By getting a second chance, a second fair chance. I had 20 minutes. You've seen how I was running like a headless chicken at Bombers, trying to take to the respective offices the documents they said I did not have. I wish they extended me the same courtesy. I wish they gave me half a day.
yeah. So take us, those of us who never ran for president.
Yes.
When you're running for president and you want to go and make an application to the IBC, where do you start? How do you start, and what do they tell you?
Well, of course, as a human being, you'll have to arrive at the decision and make peace with the responsibility you're supposed to assume. And then you declare
So
that.
you're independent.
Yes.
Does that come with any cost in terms of application to the IBC?
Well, you can run for president either as a party-sponsored candidate or as an independent. For Muthiora Kariara, who in 2017 ran as an independent, the people that believed in the vision pushed us to form a party. And that's how we ended up registering the Great Nationhood Party of Kenya with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties as from the 19th of March 2019. But then this process was not concluded on time, so the ORPP gives us a nod to field candidates in this election. So to participate, I opted to run as an independent candidate. So as an independent candidate, you apply to the ORPP to clear you as an aspirant in the forthcoming election.
Okay.
So we did that.
And when you apply, what do you give?
When you apply, you give your ID and an application letter.
Okay.
And you submit a symbol. They go through the documents, they check that your symbol is unique and admissible by law, and then they say you're cleared. You go to the IEBC.
Okay, in terms of timelines, when is this that you're doing this application?
That happened on the 25th of April for my case.
Okay.
Went to the IEBC on the same day I got these documents and was registered as an applicant. After registration, IEBC is supposed to gazette the names of all those that were cleared to run. IEBC was supposed to do that on the 13th of May. They delayed by 2 days.
They did, yes.
To do the gazettement. But when they did the gazettement, it still read that it was done on the 13th. An illegality, because that eats up into our time as aspirants. When you are gazetted, you're then given forms to go collect nomination signatures. And for
So
running
2 days
for
late
office,
already, yes.
when you're running for office of president, you need 2,000 from at least 24 counties. So even if they were on time and gazetted these names on the 13th of May, the deadline was 25th of May.
10 days later.
Yes.
Or you could say 9 days if you know.
Working days are the only days you will work.
If you knock them out. If you knock
Yes.
out a weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you tell me, between the aspirants and those that decided that this is going to be the process, who is the joker? That you're supposed to traverse 47 counties in less than 10 days.
There's a presumption that if you're running for president, you must have you have the capacity. That would be the word.
You may have the capacity.
To chopper yourself from left to right.
You may have the capacity, but as you said, there's the presumption. And you see, assumption is the mother of all, let me not use the word.
Yeah, but we know of all messes, we'll say.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we should not assume anything. The way that our constitution was drafted, it was meant to not discriminate against anyone, not based on their financial background, on their physical capability, or all these other characteristics that we have. The process in itself is a hindrance.
Okay, so 10 days. So in
Yes.
these 10 days, you, Muthiora, what did you do?
I had a network already thanks to the process we had already gone through in trying to register our political party. We have an army of volunteers out there, so they asked for these forms, went round with them, got the signatures, ID copies where possible, and forwarded them back to us for processing. So on the 25th, we had what was required. You asked about how the process is. Cones, I come to you, I say hi, I ask you if you are a registered voter, you say yes. If you're not, thank you, we hope someday you will register. So if you're registered, I tell you I'm running for president and I'm running on the following key agenda items. Would you like to nominate me? You say yes, I give you the form, you fill in your name, ID number, county, constituency, and then you sign. And then you give me your ID. Mm-hmm. For our case, because you cannot work with a photocopying machine, we would take a picture of the ID. So later, at the end of the day, we would go do our returns. It's a very tedious process.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you're supposed to do that in 10 days across the nation. We did it, Levis. We delivered. Here is a handover note. It says we took to IEBC a bundle with 25 items.
Yeah, it says number of booklets 25.
Yes.
Soft copies 24.
Yes. So one bundle had all our IDs, and then the 24 were the returns from each of the counties.
Oh, and you took it at 7:25 p.m. on the 25th.
That is when they finally certified that we had met the threshold. But we were at Bombers from 3:30.
Oh. Why was there a wait? They have to go through again the
Yes. It's a long process. They take each of the booklets, they go to the soft copy that you have provided for that county, and they check the entries and see that it tallies. And then they say, this is good. They go to the next. They did that for all the 24 and confirmed that we had given more than 2,000 signatures.
Okay. So and then after that, what was supposed to happen naturally?
Now they go and do a proper audit of the documents. Now that's what they did.
Okay, now this is after 25th.
Yes.
Deadline is over. You have submitted. We are now going to, they're going to go into the,
we are now waiting for the registration of candidates.
Uh-huh.
So in between,
they're verifying.
They lock themselves in a room or somewhere, wherever that is. I just know it's not a good place for me, because the report that came out of there was that whatever I had given had not met the threshold by 5 counties.
So in those 5 counties, is it that you didn't have 2,000, people? Is it that the people you had were not real people? What was the real question mark?
We have not been given the final report
about it.
Yes, they just say that for 5 were found to be short.
They don't tell you why. I mean, it's a marking scheme. You should get to know, like,
I demanded to have that report. It was not given to me. They said they will give it to me. I'm still waiting for it. I hope they will. So I anticipated there may be such a problem. So what I did as I waited for my D-Day was we went back to the documents we had not submitted, and we perfected them. We made sure that they were in order. So should it so happen that they say
so does
we
it
are
mean
short?
Like new?
Yes, like for example, Bomet had not been submitted.
Uh-huh.
They've not told us that Kericho, which we submitted, was bad. And bad by what standard, or short by how many signatures. I thought, let me get beyond that. Since they are not providing that information, let me prepare Bomet, which I did not submit, and make sure that it is perfect. So when we showed up on the 6th at 2 p.m., we had 8 counties with us. So should they say we are short by 3, we just pick 3 from the 8. But in our case, they said 5 did not meet the threshold. Mm-hmm. So after the chairman had rejected our application, I told him, you've given others time. we also would like you to exercise the same discretion in our case.
Because of this.
Yeah.
And now that's why you are running.
That's the point. He looked at his watch. It was 10 minutes after 3, and he told me, I will give you time, but if you're not here by 3:30, I will reject your bid. So in 20 minutes...
Where was your staff from where he was?
Well, I had it with me, but the people who go through the documents are in a different location at Bomas.
Okay.
So we had to run to that location where these officers are, the ones that handle the documents.
Interesting.
So we ran there.
What's the distance you're running to?
It was like 500 meters. So we ran there, we explained ourselves. Unfortunately, explaining ourselves took more than 15 minutes.
Oh dear.
Within those 15 minutes, Chebukati started running the clock. He took the mic and started to ask where we are. By the time we are getting to 15 minutes, we were told we have to go back. So we boldly ran back and told him, we went to your offices and they have not been helpful. That's when he called them personally. So when seated in the auditorium, they picked the documents. And while we were there, they did what seemed like perusing through the documents. And in 5 minutes, they dismissed them. Remember, you had mentioned about the code of conduct.
Yes.
We had it. So we asked, you had this reason for rejecting our bid. Here is the code of conduct. You said we didn't have documents. We have given them to you. And then they asked about the IDs, and we told them the truth. We brought our IDs in a bundle, which the chairman quoted, by the way, that when we delivered our documents, there were 24 booklets and a bundle of IDs. So in 5 minutes, they decided that we had not met the threshold and our application deserved to be rejected, and it was thus rejected.
That's very sad.
Heartbreaking, and being at the end shot of this stick, having seen what elections can do in this country, I am a victim of post-election violence. Our home in Kedoa was burnt down in 2007 when Kivuitu declared that President Moi Kibaki had won that election, which later on he would say he actually didn't know who had won that election. I was part of the 2017 election, which was nullified by the Supreme Court. There are outstanding issues that are yet to be addressed. So, having looked at the way that this system is set up, on that day, I decided until we fix it, because this system is broken, I will not be offering myself for any elective office
anymore.
I am done with this
So hence,
until it's fixed.
So did you feel, so the only way to express that was by, because you asked for a light. And I thought in that moment you'd probably say something like, maybe I'll change my mind or something.
Well,
it's been what, 2 days later now?
Yes.
How do you feel about it? Think you do the same?
Well, there is no other way. This election is a selection. Candidates have been forced on Kenyans. We are a country of more than 53 million. About 20 million are registered voters. Maybe 70% of those vote and decide the destiny for the whole 53. Currently, the biggest chunk of voters is still undecided. Yet, we are not offering them the choices that would move this nation forward and make it great. So, I do not regret pulling out of this race and any other race in future until this scam is fixed.
How do you feel about, the Chebukati saying that, he will forward your case to the DPP?
Well, I am a man that takes responsibility for their actions. If indeed I contravened the law, which I don't think I did, I merely expressed my frustration and disappointment with the process. If action is taken against me, I will fully take responsibility. I am ready. I am prepared.
Do you feel like there are those who say, that you lacked the temperament to be a president in a moment of stress and strife?
Levis, did I infringe upon anyone's right? That should be your first question. Did my enjoyment of my freedom of expression deny any other Kenyan theirs? Did I destroy anyone's property? When was the last time you used your voter's card?
That's a question I was asking myself this morning on my way here. By the way, I thought, when was the last time I used my voter's card? Right.
And what purpose does it really serve? And do you know how much it costs to get all those millions of voters' cards out there? I'm merely passing the message that IEBC is indulging in clerical hurdles to bar aspirants from running when they should be focusing on adhering to the fidelity of the law and the Constitution. The processes they have put out there, most of them are unnecessary and are not based on the law. I've just given you an example of the voter's card. You will never need it, you have never needed it, yet it costs us money to print.
Good point. We are going to take a break on that note. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go away. We are speaking to Muthiora Kariara. He has been running for president until IEBC put an end to that 2 days ago. We are talking about all the intrigues of that. We'll be right back.